Let's move on to talk a little bit before we get into the actual research about the North American Duck Symposium. And I was mentioning before the social media presence on that was almost zero. I just got wind of it from some other post on Instagram from another group, and I'm like, what is this? And I started looking through it, and there's just almost no information. Whoever's in charge of it needs to hire someone as some type of social media presence, because there's so much cool stuff that happened there and so many cool research projects and presentations, and there was just almost no social media around it at all. So I'm curious, as you guys doing what you do, isolated in your own little world at LSU, and you get to go to this thing in Portland where all of like-minded people that do the similar things that you do are all gathered in one particular area. Dr. Ringman, tell me just kind of just go through kind of what it was like to be at the Duck Symposium, cool things you saw, any details you think the listeners would find interesting about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, so we're all scientists, and so there's a variety of scientific conferences that happen, throughout the year. So the Wildlife Society has an annual conference, and the American Ornithological Society has an annual conference. So this is basically our big scientific premier conference. The North American Duck Symposium started in 1997 in Baton Rouge, and so every 2 or 3 years, it's somewhere else in the country. We often alternate between the breeding grounds and the wintering grounds, um, sort of representing the migration, right? But yeah, it's a gathering of hundreds of professional duck scientists and managers where we share the latest graduate student research. We talk about management strategies. It's a really important interface between people like me who are professors in academia doing important research, but then getting that out to the flyway biologists and the state agencies and the refuge managers, right, to be able to apply some of that research.
Right.
So, we were supposed to have it a couple years ago, but COVID knocked us back. So it's been a good, probably like 4 years since the last one. I forget where the last one was. Um, but yeah, it's a really great opportunity to network. I mean, the waterfowl scientific community is small enough that basically everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Everybody, learns a whole bunch of stuff, and then drinks a bunch of beer and BS's about ducks, and
Right.
everybody wins.
Right. Were there any presentations that stood out to you, that you found particularly interesting you'd like to reference?
Yeah, there's some important. So I mean, well, shout out to Grant. I thought his was pretty hard hitting, pioneering some new technology. There's some really important work going on in conservation genetics of eastern mallards, and lots of things happening with their populations in reference to game farm mallards on the East Coast. A whole set of things there happening with Phil Vretsky's lab at University of Texas El Paso. Some important work going on in Thomas Ricky's lab at the University of Montana regarding changes in sex ratios that have important implications for how we think about the health of waterfowl populations from some of
Mm.
our breeding pair surveys. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing big changes on the horizon, right? I mean, even just in the last whatever it was week, the Fed's announcing that they're going to consider a 3 pintail bag limit
Hmm.
for all flyways in future seasons is directly related to conversations that we've been having about pintail and what drives our population since the last duck symposium in Annapolis, which was at least three of them ago. So a decade. So we're doing science, we're making an impact, and certainly there's a lot of important research being done.
Yeah. I would assume that for you guys, it's probably really enjoyable event and something you really look forward to.
Yes,
Good.
absolutely. That was Grant's first duck symposium, but they're pretty much all
Nice.
like that, and they're more enjoyable the longer you do this because you know people then from all over the country, and it's
Right.
rewarding for me, to see. I've been a professor for a decade now, and so I've graduated students who are now firmly established in the profession. So when you have a couple dozen former students join you on stage, take a photo, that's pretty special.
Right. Yeah. I would love to see more attention brought to guys like you two and others, to where the waterfowl hunting community I don't think there's just no way to kind of follow and track. I mean, guys that are doing work like you guys should, your name should be known. It's like, oh, do you hear what Dr. Ringman and Grant are doing? I mean, it would just be uh, the whole the whole research just needs an upgrade in awareness because the waterfowl community eats this stuff up. I
Yeah.
mean, it's fascinating, and it would just be great if there was a little more attention around it, I guess. Thank you for watching this clip from the North American Waterfowler podcast. Make sure and subscribe. If you want to see the full episode of this podcast, go to the description where you can click the link. And as always, starting up September, I will be posting all of my waterfowl hunting videos for this coming hunting season.